Welcome aboard the podcast of the Stoic Pirate and our quest for the treasure of the good life. Here's your host, Matt Mueller.
Hooah! Dear pirates out there, welcome aboard the ship of the Stoic Pirate and on our quest for the treasure of the good life. My name is Matt and I'm the host of this podcast, the Stoic Pirate. Today, I'm going to talk about a topic that I think it's really important, and I don't think most of us are aware of this topic, which is, according to me, quite a big problem for our society. It's called elite overproduction. You know, I was recently on a train, first class, heading from Biel in Switzerland to St. Gallen. I live in Switzerland, so that's why I was on a train in Switzerland. It was quiet, clean, on time, the way Swiss trains usually are. Two guys sat across the aisle from me. Early, mid-30s. Yeah, maybe not mid-30s, maybe a little younger. You could tell by their clothes. Neat, like this old school Adidas sneakers. Expensive, but casual. That they saw themselves as serious people, educated people. And they were having a conversation. The kind you can't help but overhear when you're stuck in the same compartment for 2 hours. And they were complaining. One of them said, with the education I have, I still can't find a job. I did everything right, studied, finished my master's, and now there's nothing that fits. The other guy nodded. And then came the sentence I will never forget. The guy said, I might even have to take a job in retail. Can you imagine? With a master's degree, retail. That would be beneath me. Did you hear that? Beneath me, he said. It would be beneath him to work in retail. That's when I realized we're not just facing an economic problem, we're facing a civilizational problem. Because the moment a man thinks he's too good for honest work, the rot has already begun. This isn't about two guys on a train. This is about an entire generation raised to believe they're exceptional just for showing up. They were told from childhood that they were born to lead, that they deserved influence, that they were change makers, world shapers, thought leaders. So they went to university, to college, got their degrees, wrote their papers, memorized the language of power, not the power to build or protect or create, but the power to signal. And then they entered the real world. And the world said, we're not hiring. We don't need you. Not because the system is broken, but because the supply of elites has exceeded the demand. There's a name for this. It's called elite overproduction. And it's not just some ivory tower theory. It's a time-tested pattern. It's history whispering, you've been here before. The man who gave us this warning first is Jack A. Goldstone, a political sociologist and historian who didn't just write theory. He dug into the data of this dynasties and empires. In his seminal book, Revolution and Rebellion in the Early Modern World, published in 1991, Goldstone looked at a pattern in the early modern world, from the fall of the Ming Dynasty in China to the English Civil War to the French Revolution. And he found one recurring pattern. When there are too many elite aspirants and not enough elite positions, societies become unstable. When this coincides with state fiscal stress and popular discontent, revolutions erupt. It's not about the starving peasant or the abused laborer. It's about the frustrated graduate. the disappointed intellectual, the man who studied to be in charge and found out the system doesn't need him. Let's break this down through history. Most people think the French Revolution was a revolt of the poor, but in truth, it was led by the disaffected elite, the so-called Third Estate. These were educated professionals, lawyers, merchants, minor nobility, local officials. They were literate, articulate, and ambitious, and completely shut out of high political power, which was reserved for the clergy and aristocracy. The monarchy was bloated, corrupt, and deeply in debt. France had just supported the American Revolution and was bleeding money. Meanwhile, young, ambitious men with law degrees and Enlightenment ideals were being told, wait your turn, there's no seat for you here. And that didn't sit well. So they burnt the system to the ground. Before France, there was England. The English Civil War wasn't just about religion and monarchy. It was also a clash of elites. On one side, you had King Charles I and the old royal court. On the other, Parliament representing a rising class of merchants, Puritans, and regional landowners. The new elite of the 17th century. They were educated. Many studied law or theology. They had money, but little influence over national policy. The king dismissed Parliament. Parliament rebelled. The country descended into war. And it wasn't the peasants who pushed the sword forward. It was elite fighting elite, using the masses as fodder. Charles lost his head, and England lost its monarchy, at least for a while. Now, let's go east. In China, during the late Ming Dynasty, the imperial examination system, a meritocratic path to officialdom, produced thousands of highly educated scholars every year. But the number of official posts didn't grow. You had brilliant Confucian scholars who had passed the exams, but no jobs to offer them. Sounds familiar? Frustrated, they became critics, agitators, and rebels. The government was also struggling with economic decline and rural uprisings. Eventually, the dynasty collapsed in chaos, not just from peasant revolt, but from elite discontent. Goldstone's insight was clear. When education expands faster than opportunity, instability follows. Enter Peter Turchin, a Russian-American evolutionary anthropologist who expanded Goldstone's work into what he called structural demographic theory. Turchin's genius was to look at society like an ecologist looks at an ecosystem, seeing cycles, population pressures, and resource competition. He added hard data and mathematical modeling. Turchin warned that as societies grow, they overproduce elites. When elite numbers outstrip elite positions, internal conflict escalates. Discontent elites seek to undermine their rivals, often by mobilizing the masses. This isn't class war from below, it's civil war among the elite, using the lower classes as weapons. And Turchin didn't just write about the last. He predicted that America would become politically unstable around the 2020s due to exactly these dynamics. And he was right. Now let's take a detour through the 20th century. Marxism promised the end of elite rule. What it delivered was a new elite, more rigid, more ideologically intolerant, and more removed from reality than any aristocracy before. In the Soviet Union, status wasn't earned through innovation or leadership, it was earned through bureaucratic loyalty and ideological purity. The party produced millions of loyal functionaries, far more than it had real positions for. And when people realized their loyalty wasn't paying off, They didn't blame the system. They turned inward. Paranoia, purge, collapse, China's Cultural Revolution, same story. Too many ideologues, too few posts. So they started accusing each other and then eating each other alive. Today's Western socialism wears a softer face, but its core mechanism is the same. We subsidize degrees that have no market demand. We build bureaucracies full of equity officers, diversity consultants, and sustainability planners. We produce a surplus of people trained to criticize, not to build. And when those people don't find meaningful work, they turn radical. They say the market is unfair, that capitalism is broken, that the system must change. They were trained for power. The world said no. So now they seek to tear it down. At the center of all of this lies one corrosive idea: entitlement. Not earned status, not virtue through sacrifice, but the belief that you deserve because you feel or suffered or studied. Entitlement says, because I have a degree, I deserve influence. Because I was excluded, I should now be in charge. Because I care, I should lead. Entitlement replaces responsibility with resentment. And it infects every corner of modern society. The result is a generation that can't take failure and so seeks power through moral leverage instead of contribution. Now, here's something few talk about, but you should. If everyone is elite, who's left to serve? You guessed it, mass immigration. The new progressive elite doesn't push for migration just out of compassion. It pushes for it because it needs it. You can't feel elite unless there's someone below you. And if the working class is gone or no longer compliant, you import a new one. The migrants clean the houses, deliver the groceries, build the infrastructure, while the new elite writes reports about justice. It's not solidarity. It's functional feudalism with better PR. So what's the way out? Not more entitlement, not more redistribution, not more bureaucracies of inclusion. The solution is a free, capitalist, meritocratic society where elites emerge by doing hard things, by solving problems, by leading, building, sacrificing. A society where not everyone wins, but everyone can try. Everyone has the right to try. Everybody can try to be successful. Everybody has a right to pursue happiness, but there is no right for happiness. Where failure is a teacher, not a trauma. Where your value isn't measured by how much you complain, but how much you contribute. In such a society, elite overproduction is self-regulating. You don't rise because someone promised you a seat, because you have a paper, because you have a degree. You rise because you earned it. So here's my message. To the man on the train, to the student in debt, to the worker tired of carrying the load, to the leader unsure of where to stand. Come on, stand up, take ownership, stop waiting, start doing. No one owes you anything, but you can earn everything. And if you already lead with courage, lead with example, with a good example, and be humble and thankful and grateful for the people that you are allowed to lead. Then without these people, you are nothing. So treat your people you lead with respect and with heart. Love the people you lead. We don't need more elites. We need more men and women of character. That's it for today. So, I'm out. Take care.
thank you for listening to the podcast of the Stoic Pirate. Come back again to our quest for the treasure of the good life.